On June 5th, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously rejected a lawsuit filed by Mexico, which sought to hold American gun manufacturers accountable for violence committed by drug cartels using their weapons. The ruling confirms that gun makers are protected under a 2005 federal law, the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which shields them from liability for crimes committed by third parties using their products. This case marked the first time the Supreme Court ruled on that law. Mexico argued that U.S. gun makers have knowingly contributed to the trafficking of firearms into Mexico through their design, marketing, and distribution practices, including doing business with dealers who repeatedly sell large quantities of weapons that end up in cartel hands. The firearms industry, led by Smith & Wesson, pushed back. They argued that the chain of events, from manufacturing to sales through federally licensed distributors to the eventual smuggling of firearms into Mexico, was too far removed to hold manufacturers liable. A lower court in Massachusetts dismissed the case, but the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals allowed it to proceed, citing an exception in the law for knowingly aiding illegal gun trafficking. However, the Supreme Court overruled the appeals court, saying Mexico's lawsuit closely resembled the kind of legal challenges Congress intended to block. Justice Elena Kagan noted that accepting Mexico's argument would effectively undermine the core protections of the law. Noel Francisco, attorney for the gun makers, said the ruling confirms that manufacturers are not legally responsible for criminals misusing legal products, especially when smuggled into another country. Mexico had been seeking up to $10 billion in damages, along with changes to how U.S. gun companies do business. After the ruling, Mexico's foreign ministry said it would continue legal efforts, including a separate case against gun dealers in Arizona. Meanwhile, gun rights advocates argued that the case was a veiled attempt to bankrupt the U.S. firearms industry and weaken the Second Amendment. On the other side, gun violence prevention groups warned that this lawsuit could impact future domestic efforts to hold gun makers accountable. Still, David Puccino of the Giffords Law Center said the ruling does not grant the gun industry total immunity and emphasized that legal efforts to hold lawbreakers accountable will continue. The case was titled Smith & Wesson Brands Inc. v. Estados Unidos Mexicanos.